and she rolled her eyes in a typical display of histrionics. "Are you sure you haven't got some sort of early onset dementia? You'd forget your own name if they didn't print it on the front of your mug," she said, jabbing a finger in the direction of the cup on his desk, with his name printed on the front in large black letters. D.C. Green had thought it would be a nice gesture for the team. Monk had asked Green to join the team after the graft he'd put in on the trafficking case, and Drew couldn't deny that the young constable was an asset to the team. But the mugs had seemed a little too much. "This wasn't my doing," Drew said, pushing the cup aside. "Do you or don't you remember our discussion about the Christmas party?" He glanced back down at the reports scattered across the desk. "I remember." "Good. So you haven't completely lost your marbles, then?" She sighed. "You working is going to make things right awkward." "Maybe it's best if I steer clear, then." "Stop trying to wriggle out of it," Melissa said indignantly. "You're coming to the party, and you're going to sing karaoke whether you like it or not. I've pulled some strings and rearranged everything for Saturday night. That way, everyone gets to go, you included." "Or not," Drew muttered beneath his breath, and caught sight of Melissa's blistering stare. "Fine, I'll come, and do all the usual daft shit that happens on a night out, but I'm not singing no karaoke." "Yes, you are." Drew opened his mouth to argue, but noted the obstinate look on Melissa's face and changed his mind. "Fine." It was easier to capitulate now and keep things sweet. When Saturday came around, he'd keep a low profile. If she didn't see him, then she wouldn't remember the conversation. "Good," she said, sounding more pleased with herself than she had any right to be. "That's settled, then. Saturday night we're going to paint the town red." "Can I get back to this report now?" Drew said, with a long-suffering sigh. "Gregson wants it on his desk by close of day." "You working on anything interesting?" she asked, leaning over his shoulder to peer down into the report he'd laid open on the desk. The scent of her Joe Malone perfume tickled his nose, and he fought the urge to sneeze. It seemed some things never changed, and Melissa's love of lime, basil, and mandarin cologne was one of them. Melissa caught him staring and glared at him. "Stop staring down my cleavage." "I wasn't. Drew cut off, grumbling beneath his breath as Melissa dropped back into her seat as she creased up with laughter. "You should have seen your face," she said, gulping down a breath. She swiped a hand at the tears that had collected at the corners of her eyes. "Christ, Drew, I don't think I've ever seen you look so worried." "Yeah, well, that kind of shit nowadays can get a person suspended," he said gruffly. "Or worse." "It's nothing you haven't seen before," she said with a shake of her head as she pushed on to her feet. "It's not like we haven't got changed in the same room when we were both in uniform many moons ago." Drew kept his head down, his gaze trained on the reports in front of him. Not that the words were making any sense now. The words just blurred into each other, turning to gibberish before his eyes. Laughing, Melissa patted his shoulder as though he were nothing more than an awkward child in need of reassurance. He kept his attention on the papers on his desk as she left him to his work. What he needed now was something new to sink his teeth into, something to help him move past the shit-show that had been Templeton's short-lived reign in charge of the task force, a palate cleanser, so to speak. Of course, getting that meant that some other poor misfortunate out there had to get served up a shit sandwich, and no matter how he tried to spin that, there was just no good way around it. Sighing, he glanced down at his watch. Just a couple of hours more, and he would finally be out of here, and free to once again roam the many listings on Rightmove in search of the perfect space.